Hello, Eagle fans. Jonathan Duran here inside the NCCU Sports Network studios. Welcome back for another edition of the NCCU Football Kickoff Show. The Eagles on the road heading to Delaware State, looking to bounce back after their narrow loss against South Carolina State last weekend, and now playing their final road game before coming back for homecoming, which also will end up as the final home game of the year for North Carolina Central. So a lot for the Eagles to prepare for, to keep the momentum going, and still having a shot for the Celebration Bowl. Just the one loss, and many things can happen in South Carolina State. Delaware State is also 1-1, so this game also vitally important for North Carolina Central on their quest for another championship. So the Eagles, of course, as you saw last weekend, a tough one against South Carolina State, and for Coach Oliver, he talked about not wanting to let South Carolina State beat the Eagles in the same way they did last year, but unfortunately it was a near carbon copy of that game. So I had a chance to sit down with Coach Oliver to talk about the difficult loss to South Carolina State, get his opinion on it, and what's next for North Carolina Central. Coach, tough one for North Carolina Central on the road at South Carolina State. It just seemed to end up as the same as last year. I know you talked about how that game haunted you last season. Coach, I know it's got to be tough to be able to go through another game like that.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I thought it was a very good game. I'm sure the average fan, it was very entertaining for them to watch. But unfortunately, we did come up short against those guys this year. I thought we had our chances. We gave ourselves, a chance all the way till the end of the game, and that was pleasing to see our guys play for 60 minutes. But offensively, a couple of costly turnovers, and we didn't get points in the red zone when we needed. We missed a few kicks, and defensively we struggled getting off the field on third down. But all in all, it was a tough loss. We'll lick our wounds and get ready for next week.
Coach, with North Carolina Central being so dominant this year, it's the first time the Eagles were involved in what's been a one-score game. What do you think are the keys for the Eagles to be able to come out on top the next time they're in a close situation like that?
Well, I think it's about executing, and like you said, we've done it all year long. We made the throws, made the catches, made the tough blocks, and made the tackles. And then against a good team, you have to be consistent and execute. And it was a couple of drop balls that we had, and a couple of times Pee Wee was under pressure, and he hadn't been under duress like that all season. But you can't make mistakes against championship caliber teams, and I thought we made a couple too many mistakes, and obviously we came up short at the end.
North Carolina Central now 1-1 in league play. Played on Thursday night for the first game, and you go down. You're followed once again by Tiffany Green and Jay Walker with HBCU, with ESPN. And Coach, it seems that right now the MEAC and the SWAC are having a bit of a moment in the sun. We saw Jackson State against Campbell, a Campbell team that we know is pretty good, and now Jackson State's going to be featured on College Game Day. Coach, I know you spent some time in the SWAC, been in the MEAC as well, but how cool was it to see, again, this continued focus on the HBCUs getting this national attention?
I mean, I think it's great for our when we recruit these student athletes, we tell them that you'll have an opportunity to play on national television. And last year we were on College Game Day. We were on Good Morning America. So it's great to have that exposure for your program as well as the university. So I'll be excited to see, Jackson and Southern this weekend. And those guys, game day being down there, focusing on carrying that game. So that'll be interesting to see.
Jackson State will be trying to make their way to the Celebration Bowl once again to face off against the winner of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. North Carolina Central still in the hunt. Next up, it's Delaware State. What have you seen from the Hornets?
Well, it's so much parity in this conference. I think Delaware State is just about as good as South Carolina State. They have a really good running back. Their defense plays lights out. I think they lead in every statistical category defensively. And special teams is probably the best special teams group I've seen all year. They're very well coached. They play extremely hard, and they don't beat themselves in the kicking game. So we're gonna have to come up there and play well. It's their homecoming, so they'll be looking to put on a show for their fans. But we've got to come up there and start fast and finish the game.
Coach, I'll tell you personally, I've been impressed with Delaware State over the last few years. From outside of the conference, people might not have seen it, but it's a team that's been on the rise and they're pretty tough to beat. So, Coach, what are the keys for North Carolina Central to be successful against the Hornets?
Ooh, same things always. We have to protect the football. Well, we must win the kicking game. And we must start fast. It's homecoming up there. We got to make some plays early and get the momentum to keep their fans out of the game and then finish the game. They're a very physical football team and they play extremely hard. And like you're saying, they're probably the most improved team over the past 7 or 8 years in the conference. So they're trending in the right direction. But we can't give them any life. We got to go up there as soon as we get off the bus and be ready to play some football.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Good luck.
Thank you, Jack.
That's Eagle football head coach Trei Oliver. Now let's get to our keys to the game. Let's start on the defensive side as we look at this Delaware State team that has a pretty good rushing attack and also a good trigger man at quarterback. So here's defensive coordinator Courtney Coard as he talks about these Hornets and also about last week's game against South Carolina State. Coach, North Carolina Central, unfortunate on the road at South Carolina State, a narrow loss. Coach, just go back and talk about that game.
It was a tough game. We knew going into the game that it was going to be a hard-fought game, and it didn't disappoint. Both sides I thought played well for the most part, but when it came down to it, they made more plays to win the ball game than we did. So we just gotta learn from our mistakes and come back and have a great week of practice and prepare for the next week.
Talk about learning and going forward. What's something that you think this Eagle team was able to learn from this past game?
That we not what we thought we were. In order to be a championship team, we got to find a way to win those tight ball games. Our playmakers got to make plays. Coaches got to coach better. But in those crucial situations, somebody has to step up and make a play for us. And like I said, we just didn't make enough plays for us to win that ball game.
Eagles have one more game on the road with Delaware State. Coach, it's been nice being at home, but we talked about being on the road in conference, or rather in the non-conference season. But what's different going on the road in conference games?
Well, you're behind enemy lines. It's no other way to put it. You're put at a disadvantage. Nothing comes easy. Your fans probably won't travel if it's a long distance type game like the one we're about to go on. It's the locker room situation. It's a lot of things that go into to play that makes you uncomfortable being on a road. You're not familiar with the lay of the land, but that's no excuse. You have to win road ball games. Especially late in the season, you have to find a way to win these games.
You're talking about road ball games. North Carolina Central has another one coming up against Delaware State, who just played Howard, who is the Eagles' next home opponent. But Delaware State, they're now 1-1. What have you seen from the Hornets while you've been getting ready for this game?
They're a good ball club. They have some guys who can make some plays. They have a receiver that can take it the distance. He's a playmaker in space. They have some good running backs. Offensive line is fairly athletic, and the quarterback can make some plays scrambling. He can extend drives, and he can make people miss an open field. So once again, we got our work cut out for us. And like I said, we have to have a great week of preparation. And we can't beat ourselves. We have to be disciplined. We have to recreate a line of scrimmage. And we have to put some pressure on the quarterback. We can't ask our DBs to sit back there and cover for a long period of time. We got to find a way to create some pressure with four.
All right, Coach. And you talked about some of the keys, but what are the overall keys for North Carolina Central to be successful on defense against Delaware State?
Well, like it is every week, we got to stop the run. And in order to do that, we have to recreate a line of scrimmage. And we have to be physical up front. We have to make people play our brand of football. And, I think if we do that, people have a hard time beating us. We've given up 100 yards rushing the last couple ball games. And that's unacceptable. The standard is nothing over 100. We want 100 or less. And So we have to stop the run. We have to be disciplined. We have to be gap sound. And like I said, we have to put some pressure on the daggone quarterback, man. Make the quarterback uncomfortable in the pocket, and force turnovers. We have to force turnovers. We haven't done a good job of that, taking the ball away from opposing teams. So that's going to be a huge point of emphasis once again this week, like it is every day, every week. We just have to do a good job emphasizing it this week in practice as coaches.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck.
Appreciate you, man.
That's defensive coordinator Courtney Coard. Now let's flip to the offensive side. The Eagles again seem to be working well on offense, but just at the tail end of the game, things just seemed to falter and didn't quite go the way of North Carolina Central. So here is offensive coordinator Matt Leone to talk about last week's game and how the Eagles can move forward against Delaware State. Coach, North Carolina Central, tough one down on the road at South Carolina State. The Eagle offense was right there, but just came up on the wrong end. So, Coach, let's go back and discuss that game.
Yeah, it was definitely tough one on us. I thought the guys played hard and they fought till the end. But we had some things not go our way. We came up short. We had to just execute in critical situations, make sure we're not hurting ourselves with penalties, and I got to do a better job of putting guys in position to make plays.
Well, the plays were made for North Carolina Central. Mookie Collier rattled off that super long run. You always talk about establishing the run and getting it done up front, and it seems like this Eagle offense was able to do that against South Carolina State.
Yes, Mookie's been Mr. Reliable. Offensive line did a good job of creating some movement up front and creating some gaps for Mookie to run through. And then Mookie, you put the ball in his hands and you get it to him enough times, he's going to make some things happen. So I was proud of the way he performed on Saturday.
I was talking to Coach Oliver about the fact of how this Eagle team has been so dominant this year that this is only the first time they've been involved in a one-score game. So, Coach, what do you think this team can gain from that experience going forward for the rest of the season?
Just continued to battle. One game. What we talk about is one game does not define you. What happens in a game, one play does not define you. You got to keep playing. You're guaranteed 60 minutes, and you got to play the best you can for all those 60 minutes. And we know we left some plays out there to be made, and it's a learning lesson. And as long as you don't repeat the same mistakes, you got an opportunity to get better.
Jonathan Duran with Eagles offensive coordinator Matt Leone. Coach, North Carolina Central, tough one down on the road at South Carolina State. The Eagle offense was right there, but just came up on the wrong end. So, Coach, let's go back and discuss that game.
Yeah, it was definitely tough one on us. I thought the guys played hard and they fought till the end. But we had some things not go our way. We came up short. We had to just execute in critical situations, make sure we're not hurting ourselves with penalties, and I got to do a better job of putting guys in position to make plays.
Well, the plays were made for North Carolina Central. Mookie Collier rattled off that super long run. You always talk about establishing the run and getting it done up front, and it seems like this Eagle offense was able to do that against South Carolina State.
Yes, Mookie's been Mr. Reliable. Offensive line did a good job of creating some movement up front and creating some gaps for Mookie to run through. And then Mookie, you put the ball in his hands and you get it to him enough times, he's going to make some things happen. So I was proud of the way he performed on Saturday.
I was talking to Coach Oliver about the fact of how this Eagle team has been so dominant this year that this is only the first time they've been involved in a one-score game. So, Coach, what do you think this team can gain from that experience going forward for the rest of the season?
Just continued to battle. one game. What we talk about is one game does not define you. What happens in a game, one play does not define you. You got to keep playing. You're guaranteed 60 minutes, and you got to play the best you can for all those 60 minutes. And we know we left some plays out there to be made, and it's a learning lesson. And as long as you don't repeat the same mistakes, you got an opportunity to get better.
Jonathan Duran with Eagles offensive coordinator Matt Leone. Coach, North Carolina Central heading up to the first state next to take on Delaware State. Hornets now 1-1, just like North Carolina Central in league play. What have you seen from DSU?
They are very active on defense. They play a 3-down scheme. They play with 4 eyes. It's playing inside shades of the tackle, and they're very active. They're good up front. They rely a lot on a 3-man rush, and they lead the league in sacks. So they're doing a good job of getting to the quarterback, and then in passing situations, they have a tendency to drop 8, and so there's a lot of guys in coverage. So it's going to make for some smaller windows. So we gotta run precise routes and get the ball out on time and in rhythm. But they're a good defense. They lead the MEAC in just about every category on defense, and so we got a work cut out for us. But guys are working hard this week and preparing for the challenge.
All right, Coach. Well, let's talk about this challenge ahead for North Carolina Central. What are the offensive keys for the Eagles to be successful?
First and foremost, we just like every week, we want to establish the run game, take care of the football, and then be great in situational offense, win first down, execute on third down, stay on the field, and score touchdowns in the red zone.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck.
All right. Thank you, Johnson.
That's offensive coordinator Matt Leone. Before him, you heard defensive coordinator Courtney Coard and head coach Trei Oliver at the top of the program. All right, let's look to see what's going on around the league this weekend. The Eagles are playing the 2 o'clock game against Delaware State at the same time as them will be Howard at Norfolk State at Dick Price Stadium. South Carolina State in the driver's seat. They'll visit Morgan State, and so that game at noon. Definitely all eyes will be on that game to see what happens between the Bulldogs and the Bears. If Morgan State can win that game, then we're devolving back into the chaos that we've known of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, where we've had 5+ teams sharing a conference title, and we'll see what shakes out as we go forward through the rest of the year. So one more time, noon, South Carolina State at Morgan State, 2 o'clock, the Eagles at Delaware State, and also at 2, Howard at Norfolk State. Let's get to the weather report for this weekend at Alumni Stadium in Dover. High of 62 for game day Saturday. About 64% humidity, 5% chance for showers. I'd be surprised if it did rain, but that's the look there. Here in Durham, it'll be 65 degrees, mid-60s for the game tomorrow. 13% chance of rain. Again, I'd be surprised if it rained here, although there is a chance for rain as we increase into Monday evening, which is a reminder for those of you listening, if you haven't, go ahead and get out there and buy your candy. You don't even have to give it out. You can just keep it at home for yourself. Honestly, that's what I do sometimes. But I hope that you enjoy your weekend. I'm Jonathan Duran from the NCCU Sports Network studios. As always, go Eagles, and we'll see you back on the sloping hills in Verdant Green for homecoming next week.